Good evening and welcome. Thanks for coming. I think maybe my watch is a little incorrect, but we'll start anyway. Good to see you. We're going to start by standing up this wonderful evening with the feet apart a little way and arms up in the air, like an advert for soya milk. Other health products that are available. Probably soy milk's not so cool anymore. Almond milk, that's probably, I don't know, which is the one that's okay. Anyway, like an advert for something healthy. Tummy lightly toned, arms spread out fully. It don't have to be right up. They're just more like a sort of inspirational advert for vitamins or something like that. And then bring them back down, hands on the hips, step the feet apart. Quite a generous stride. Great, and take a few deep breaths. Jaw and eyes soft. You might just tune in on the pelvic floor. So that might be done through movement this way or that way, tuning in on the pelvic floor, and then turning the left toes in, right foot and leg out, heel to arch as always. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg. Raise your lead arm, that's the same as the front leg, right? And stretch up from the inner groin to the fingertips. So inner groin to the fingertips. See if you can feel an energetic alignment there. Breathing through your nose. So pretty simple. We're not doing any more than this right now. Just that stretch on the inner groin of the back leg, focusing on the breath. Focus tuning in on the pelvic floor. Very subtle. Very beautiful. The subtlety is beautiful. Intimate. Tender even. Okay, release in your own time and feet back to the front, back toes in, front foot and leg on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel, enjoying a couple of deep breaths, and focus on the inner groin of the back leg, raise up your front arm. So there's all sorts of reiterative tones in the tummy, there's a buoyancy in the pelvic floor, there's a softness in the neck, there's an openness in the groins. And we're focusing, tuning in if we can, on this lovely intimacy, this lovely subtlety of the inner groin of the back leg. Opening, very, very subtle, very easy to focus on in some ways. And the ease of it is what makes it difficult in some way. The ease is kind of what makes it difficult. Because it's just here, it's just this, it's just now. Inner groin through the deep belly. That lovely, subtle pelvic floor dance. It's like a dance. That's it, that's the words. Arm down, feet forwards. Take a breath or two or three or four. Diagonally taking the same position. So taking your front foot, the first front foot, forwards towards the front of your mat. You've got the screen facing me, same as I'm doing. And then the other foot back towards the back of the mat. The back toes don't have to turn in, but shouldn't turn out. And again, we're going to focus on the inner groin of the back leg. And it's beautifully unstable. Buddhists have founded their whole religious practice, their whole method of freedom around focusing on instability. Raise up your lead arms, just the same in terms of rhetoric, but of course the experience will be different as we did last time. So front arm raised, focusing on the inner groin of the back leg. And you might find there's movements to help you tune in. Movements forwards, movement backwards. Just tuning in like that. Breath coming and going, very natural. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. So this sort of reiterative attuning. The light tone of the tummy, the spontaneous buoyancy of the pelvic floor, like a dance. Okay, arm down, and yeah, you know what's coming next. The same thing, but the other way. So exactly the same, but the other way. Instep of your front foot parallel to the front of the mat. Back toes don't have to turn in, but they shouldn't turn out. Your front foot ideally should be parallel to the front of the mat, and then focusing on the inner groin as you, or whenever you're ready to, raising your front arm. So for me, it takes a while to tune in. It's something to do with the position of the weight on one's feet, whether the leg is slightly internally or externally rotated, whether the pelvis is a little forwards or a little backwards. All these work together to find this lift in the inner groin. So it's subtle, it's not immediately available, because what we normally find on the immediate level is gross, can and can't, have and haven't, like and dislike, here and there, on and off. So that's what we find at first, we can only find things like, is it on or is it off? Is it good or is it bad? Is it here or is it there? But the subtlety is different. Huh? It's breath-centered. And you're attuned to it. I've ended up with this spontaneous mudra. You could have your hand like that or down, but it's the inner groin that you're focusing on. I've kind of, the hands come into the mudra, mimicking the poise of my mind. Of course, mudras are attitudes primarily that then might express themselves through bodily shapes or through hasta mudras, hand expressions, or hand seals. Beautiful. Okay, nice and slow, real calm, release, and come back to center with the feet apart. What I call kayotsaga. Looking down at the feet, we can have a look and just make sure they don't turn in or out, that they are parallel to each other. And then if ready, raise the arms up. You can probably tell I'm in the loft today rather than in the kitchen diner, as a estate agent would call it. That's because Ralph has become particularly Ralphie just before dinner time, before his dinner time, that is. Ralph is the cat. And so it's too Ralphie, even for us guys. So we've had to escape him. Tummy is toned in reiterative waves. All right, reiterative waves. So instead of superimposing a demand on the body, we keep inviting it. Would you come this way? Would you come this way? Like that, it's invitations. Roots of the neck are soft. Press your feet, raise your fingers on the inhale. On the exhale, bend your ankles, knees, and hips. And of course, play in any way that is a tuning for oneself, like movements up and down, movements left and right, bouncing, or smaller movements. Regarding the hands, the heels of the hands could turn out or in. You could come lower. Some people like to come right down to a squat. Some people don't. The pose is called Utkatasana. Utkata meaning squat, hinging from the hip joints. When you're ready to stand up, you stand up all the way. Take your big circle. Bring your hands to the heart and catch the breath. Beautiful. So take 2, 3, 4 or more deep breaths, and then bring your feet together or close and catch another deep breath. So we're going to underdo it to find that less is more, and that a great yogini gets more and more from less and less. We're going to come into tree pose, massively underdoing it by taking either leg. You've only got 2, so it should be fairly straightforward choice, and just literally bringing the heel up just above the ankle of the other leg. So hardly a thing at all, right? Just the heel, and that's it. And then we're going to raise the arms from there. So that's all. So you can breathe into that. Yeah, that's it. Roots of the neck soft, light tone in the tummy. I suppose it's quite balletic in a way, isn't it? I don't know much about ballet. I think there's something called first and second position. Maybe this is a bit like second position. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think it might be. Light tone in the tummy, releasing the roots of the neck. Let it flow around a bit. Let it be balletic. A word that comes up in association with the word dance or ballet could be grace. You sort of expect a gracefulness, a given, a sort of elegant surrender, I suppose. And that's certainly something that you can evoke, promote, invite. Good job, big, wide circle. Hands to the hips, feet level, breath deep. Take a couple of deep ones. So we'll have the hands on the hips because it broadens the collarbones, deepens the shoulder blades, lifts the breastbone, stretches the belly, extends the psoas, releases the diaphragm, and encourages this buoyancy on the pelvic floor, which means that the energy we sometimes describe with words like kundalini or chandalini, the energy in the pelvic floor area can be nudged upwards. And some texts, some middle tantric texts tell us that we should draw the upper kundalini down towards the heart and the lower kundalini up towards the heart where they both meet. So this sense of energy coming from the crown, energy coming from the pelvic floor, coming towards each other. The upper kundalini descends, the lower kundalini ascends. Sometimes it's described, one is described as squeezing the lower kundalini, this energy that's associated with heat. As I say, it's sometimes called chandalini, which is a name of, which can mean a fierce woman. Now, when you're ready, similar to before, very simple, just very simple. The heel comes just above the ankle, the toes are still on the floor, and then we raise our arms up. So we're doing less is more, because that's exactly what great yogins do. Less is more. Like a great yogin doesn't need, expensive leggings. She doesn't need fancy locations. She doesn't need jaw-dropping postures. She needs less, to go there. That's what makes her a great yogin. She just needs to walk in the forest and there's some dappled light and she goes there into the field. That is the interdependent experience. Or she stands like this in a massively pared down tree pose and she finds the grace through her giving here and now and breath. So let it move around if it's helpful. Let the pelvis move, say, forwards or backwards or left or right. Just tuning in, light tone in the tummy, released in the roots of the neck, breathing through your nose. Graceful. I love the Sanskrit word for grace, anugraha, which literally means after grasping, following on from grasping, whatever follows on from grasping, after grasping is done with, when you've moved on, when you've followed on, that's grace. You've tried grasping, you've gone through grasping, and then you let go. And that's grace. Okay, big circle, well done. And place your foot next to the other and step your feet generously apart, hands on the hips. Breathing through the nose, just tune in on the lovely sensitivity of the pelvic floor. It's lovely because it's a dance. It's lovely because it's interdependent. It's lovely because it's beyond self-construct. The pelvic floor. The idea of pelvic floor, of course, is within self-construct, my pelvic floor, its muscles, I should do something or not do something. But the reality of pelvic floor is its interdependence with breath, with brain, with body, with the universe. So there's a dance to it. There's something, that you can't tell if you're listening, the listener or the responder. Is my movements, am I following or am I leading? You can't tell, which is good. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg like we did before. Raise your lead arm, the one nearest your front leg. Breathe through your nose. Inhale, lift up from the inner groin of the back leg. Exhale, bend your front knee. And come down slow. You might bend and extend a few times to tune in the particular fibers of your own body as they are here and now. And then, if ready, come all the way down, elbow, perhaps forearm down on the leg, raising the top arm up, breathing through the nose. Great, jaw soft, light tummy tone. The option to stretch the arm over is there, but it is an option. The option to come down to the big toe side of the foot to a block or the floor is there, or little toe side of the foot, or to clasp. These are all options for Pajva Konasana. Pajva meaning side, Kona meaning angle. What isn't optional really in terms of our successful yoga is breathing into it. We should all do that. Okay. Calmly coming up, use your leg to help you on the inhale. Feet face forwards, hands on the hips, take deep breaths. And then tune in. Just tune in on the pelvic floor. So that's just, it's so beautiful. I can't even find words for it, you know, the beauty of the living experience, because it's beyond self, and that's freedom. That's what we want, right? That's what everything we do that we really are passionate about ultimately boils down to it being beyond self. And sometimes we say, when I forget myself, that's when I really remember myself. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Taking deep breaths as if you were beginning to feel the release, the satisfaction of release, contentment, samtosha. Focus on the inner groin of the back leg, lifting up as you raise your arm up. So in your own time, make sure the roots of the neck are soft. Raise your arm up from the inner groin, beautiful. Keep the jaw passive, eyes passive, brain passive. See if you can feel the meditative quality of being, the beautiful meditative quality of, it can't even use words, of finding the pelvic floor, of opening the inner groin. And then when you're ready, bend your knee, and you might bend and re-extend it, tuning it in to the posture. And then perhaps the elbow comes down and arm goes up, maybe up and over, or straight up is a good station too. Or big toe side of the foot on a block, little toe side of the foot, perhaps the arm over, or clasping. These are all perfectly good stations, optional stations. Some will suit us more at different times than others. Eyes are soft, brain is soft, throat is soft, tongue is soft. And breath is expressive, ideally. Beautiful. Okay, arm down, push into your leg to ascend. Lovely. Coming up all the way. Hands on the hips. Take a few deep breaths. Now, we're going to walk the feet together because you might find it useful to have a couple of blocks. So I'll give you a moment to get a couple of blocks that will go either side of your foot. I'm upstairs, so I don't know where anything is up here, but I can show you without blocks anyway. Yeah, I'll go for the showing you without blocks anyway, because I can't see nothing up here. But the blocks are going to go either side, one side of your mat, at either side of the mat, if you've got to. Oh, actually, there you go. Brick blocks are probably better, but I'll show you with these kind of blocks instead. You've got one behind your foot, one in front of your foot. That's straightforward. And then back toes in, they're the ones furthest from the blocks. Front foot and leg out. Walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. You might need to move your block. Lift your back heel externally, rotate it, and then bring it down again. The whole process is one of squaring up towards the blocks. That light tone in the pelvic floor, that focus on the inner groin. Notice all the instructions are the same for each pose at the moment. So there's light tone on the tummy. There's that magical living awareness of the pelvic floor. Magical living awareness. There's that release of the inner groin up, and we can follow that through if we want with our arms. The tummy will tone more as the arms go up. Inhale, exhale, come forwards and down to your bricks. Obviously, you can have them any height, this full height, half height, lowest, whatever. But the criteria is that the anterior spine is spacious. That's an important criteria. And that the breath comes and goes. So this is a version of Pajvottanasana. Paj meaning side. The OT part of Uttanasana is actually a sandhi, that is to say, drifted because of connection from ut. So ut meaning intense. So Pajvottanasana. Pajvottanasana is intense side tan stretch. So
although you might not notice it being a side stretch, that's what we're encouraged to focus on the sides of the body, extending meditatively. Yeah? Breath coming and going, jaw soft, eyes soft. Super duper. Fingertips, you can take the blocks higher, climb up that way, and then come up all the way when you're ready. With due care, we move the blocks to the other side, either so they flank the other foot in front and behind, quite generously apart, so you'll have room to move your feet. Hands on the hips, breathing through the nose. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, turning towards the blocks. Walk that front foot further across the width of the mat. You might need to move the block. Lift the back heel externally, rotate it, and then bring it down again. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Light tone in the tum. So those same instructions, those beautiful instructions, they're beautiful when we follow them. The experience is beautiful. Aware of the pelvic floor. God, that's just like, it's like, I can't even, the release from the constructed modality is so beautiful and profound, and it's like, it's what we want, So coming into awareness of the pelvic floor, and trusting the power of that experience. Inhale, lift from the inner groin of the back leg. Raise your arms, exhale, hinge. Hinge forwards and down to your blocks, which are whatever height they are, for you to have open anterior spine. Breathing, of course, natural. Gluteus maximus of the back leg, soft and released. Brain relaxed, eyes relaxed, jaw relaxed. So just keep coming back to that, again and again. The gluteus maximus on the back leg releasing. Breath, breath, breath. Good job. Okay. Taking the blocks up higher, and then fingertips, and then hinging up to come up, leading with the bottom of the breastbone. Great job. We're going to come down to laying down, because we don't half like it, bit of a laying down. So we're going to lay down. I hope you've got these kind of blocks, because they're dead useful. Yeah, that's it. We're going to have those beside us, those kind of flat blocks. You can use books or whatever if you don't have those kind of blocks. I'll take the mic off for a second, because I think it distorts when I'm laying on my back. And we're simply going to take those two blocks, lift up our bum, perhaps lifting up the heels and coming to the balls of the feet, placing the two blocks under the lower back and the back of the pelvis, with your tailbone just coming off the end of the blocks. So the tailbone just comes off the end of the blocks. So that feels pretty good. And you might instinctively move your knees, for example, side to side. It can be nice to tune in that way. Breath, of course, comes and goes naturally. So we're just playing with it, moving this way, moving that way. Now, once you kind of tune in, and this process alone is wonderful for the thoracolumbar fascia, particularly the lumbar fascia. Thoracolumbar meaning thoracic and lumbar, thoracic meaning the part of the spine that connects to the ribs, and the lumbar meaning the part of the spine that we might call the waist. And then once you've got yourself kind of feeling into it, and you've really checked that your tailbone has come over the end, then we're going to see if we can raise a leg. And it doesn't matter which one, you can pick either one. You got it. That's a good choice. And then you can dorsifrontal flex the foot if you want, or circle or half circle, or swing the leg more or less. But it's all about the breath, breath, breath. Come back to the breath again and again. That leg comes down and the other goes up. And similarly, you can play with your foot, you can circle or half circle. It's a range of different movements you can take. Having done all that, you could try raising both legs. That's a good option. See how you go with it. Both together. Obviously, you've got to get the position just right. Your tailbone must be off the end. It's the lumbar really that's supported. And hopefully, if you're using books, you know they're not too hard on the body. You might even need to cover them. And there's tone in the tummy, so legs are raised. You can raise the arms as well, stretch them up, and maybe even over the head. So this is a version of Viparita Karani. Viparita Karani. Viparita means inverted. Karani comes from karana, which comes from the same roots as kriya and karma, and it just means action. So Viparita Karani is an inverted action of any kind. That's how it's listed in the Hatha Yoga texts. But over the years, this has become known as Viparita Karani, inverted kind of practice, probably the forebearer of shoulder stand. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed that and you can bring your feet back down. If you've got regular sort of yoga, conventional flat blocks, and you feel okay to do so, I'm going to suggest you walk your feet in towards your bum. You lift your heels up and you flip the blocks one more height up, both of them together. And this is still your tailbone's off, and you have to adjust and readjust to get that just the right position so that they stand up and don't fall down. And it's just into the lower vertebrae of the lumbar region. So there are 5 vertebrae of the lumbar. So we're talking about probably lumbar 3, 4, 5, maybe even just 4 and 5. But try again and again until it feels right. Your hands can come onto your hips, your chest, or stretch over your head. This is a version of Setu Bandhasana. Breath is everything. Tummy is lightly toned. Neck is soft. Okay. Walk your feet towards your derrière. It's French for bottom. And lift up your bottom. Move the blocks to one side. And slowly come back down. You did it. And just rest where you are. So you've got your legs bent, the soles of the feet on the floor, and just resting where you are. If your knees are tight, you can walk your feet a bit further from your bum, but keep your knees bent. And keep letting those deep breaths come and go. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Now from that position, we're going to raise up both legs, just as we did when we were on the blocks, but we're not on the blocks. We're doing it without the blocks under the pelvis. So both legs up. So instead of this being called Viparita Karani, this is called Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, upwardly raising your feet. And you can upwardly raise your arms as well. So just basically laying on your back like a sort of Franz Kafka kind of incident. And then the arms can move left and right as they stretch over the head towards the floor. You can land them on a brick or a bolster or a couple of blocks. And of course, repeated movement makes a big difference. Once you've stretched the arms right over the head like that, then you're going to lower the legs, keeping the lower back really close to the floor throughout your whole descent. Keeping the lower back really close to the floor, intimate even. And eventually when you land, you melt. That is to say, you let your legs fall away from each other, your elbows both bend, Your breath comes and goes. Everything's soft. Everything's melted. Everything's surrendered. You got it. Everything's soft. Everything's melted. Eyes are soft. Brain is soft. Throat is soft. And when you're ready, bend the legs and place the soles of the feet on the floor and roll over onto your side, perhaps to face towards the screen, depending on your setup. And bending the leg you're laying on, that old chestnut. Now, if you're at all tight in the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint, can be worth putting blocks. And you might want to try this anyway, seeing as we've got a couple of blocks in play. Blocks underneath the straight leg. The bottom leg is the bent one, and it's bent at 2 sets of 90 degrees. One of the sets of 90 degrees is between the thigh and the tummy, and the other one is between the calf and the thigh. Then the top leg will lift and extend. You got it. Lovely. And if you've got candles in the room, make sure you don't put your foot right above them, as I'm nearly doing. And then you're going to land with space in the groin. That's the very important caveat to really check up on. Sense of space, sense of openness, sense of softness in the inner groin area. You get that by lifting, you get that by taking the leg back, and you get that by adjusting attitude, bhavana. Lightly tone the tum, push down into the floor, lift and turn. Elbows, forearms, wrists on the floor, and have a little play. I like to move left and right, forwards and backwards. I like to suck the tummy in and pull the chest forwards. These things can all really help to massage tension out of the lumbar. I should also mention that the elbows should be a little forwards of the shoulders. Not very forward, not very far forwards, just a little. They should also just be shoulder width apart. Breathing comes and goes. Tummy's lightly toned. The yogini is tuning in. She's doing a bit of a Tim Leary kind of thing. So just tuning in. Great. Beautiful. Love that. Let's bring the top leg on top of the bottom leg. It's quite intense, but it's a very good pose. Come up from the side. You got it. You got it. And then you know what's coming. Of course you do. The other leg. So bending the bottom leg. Make sure you got those 2 sets of 90 degrees between the thigh and the tum, and between the calf and the thigh. And then I'm a little safer this time. I won't burn my foot on the candle. Lift and extend and look for that groin space. Remember, you get it by lifting, you get it by taking the leg back, and you get it by adjusting attitude, because what happens in the mind happens in the body, and that's information we can really use. So you lift and land, you lift and land, and you're looking for soft, spacious extension, soft, spacious. So everything's beyond words. I mean, it's tricky. Draw the tum lightly in if you're ready. That soft, spacious extension. The tum draws in, the chest pulls forwards, and then you push, lift, turn. Elbows, forearms, and wrists on the floor. Breathing through the nose. Movements that are investigative, that conduce to melting, that open the breath. And allow doubt to entirely disappear, replaced by instead intuitive knowledge and its manifest relationship response. Intuitive knowledge, intuitive response are one. We sometimes just call it listening, responding in Vajrasati Yoga. So sucking in the tummy, pulling forwards, turning, sucking in the tummy, pulling forwards, turning. Again and again. Abhyasa. Great. Okay, I love it. I could stay there for quite a while. But bring your top leg on top of your bottom leg. and come up from the side. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. And we're going to come into it in a bit of a cheeky 2-block kind of way, because this is a kind of 2-block kind of class. You might have noticed that. By putting 2 blocks behind us. Now, hopefully, you've got these kind of yoga blocks, but you can use same size books or even pieces of wood, as long as there's no splinters in them, just to make a little platform for your feet. And then you come up into your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog, with the pelvis elevated. Now, this elevation means you're more likely to be able to get some extension into the lower back, into the lumbar. And we'll bring some of that play that we played with in Vrikshasana, the tree pose, when we really kept the tree pose so, mild. There's even a form of yoga that's mentioned in the yoga texts and texts about yoga called Mritu. Mritu yoga means mild yoga or gentle yoga, Mritu, or even soft yoga. And some of the sages actually advocate it. They actually say you shouldn't practice Hatha yoga, you should practice Mritu yoga, soft yoga, not forceful yoga like Hatha yoga. Anyway, Hatha yoga has become very popular, and Mritu yoga is quite popular too. So I hope your palms are really planting into the mat and you're ranging around. You might find, like I do, it very useful to think of the armpits in 3 primary ways. Inner armpit extending, outer armpit following that, the under armpit, if you divide the armpit into top and bottom, pulling the 2 inner and outer back together towards the inner groins, lifting back of the legs towards the front of the legs. Great, that'll do. That's enough, isn't it? Come to hands and knees, catch a breath, maybe a little wag of the tail, jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. Okay, we come to Dandasana, one of Jim Tarran's absolute favorite poses. Oh my Lord. 2 blocks, of course. That's it. Yes, beautiful. Yay. And then put them together, short end to short end. Got it. This is going very well. And then we're going to sit on those 2 blocks with the nearest 2 buttocks we can find, which should be somewhere around the top of our legs. And then we're going to draw the buttock flesh out and back. And we'll go through some of the stations in Dandasana, and these stations can be applied to many other poses. So first station really is just adjusting, tuning in. So that's movements of the buttock flesh. I could do that for quite a while. I feel like I adjust by more and more refined adjustments as I go along. So I could probably carry that on. Legs are together or close. It may be that your feet come together and your legs don't. That's fine. It would be foolish to try and force the legs together if the feet were apart. If the feet were together before the thighs. But the legs are together or close. Then you take your hands next to your knees and just move your hands as if you're polishing the floor. You got it? And then the rotated cuffs, you probably can feel them loosening up. They're the muscles that attach the arms to the shoulder blades. And then draw the arms back. Big, big stretch of the chest. Maybe the elbows are bent or maybe the arms are straight, but the shoulders shouldn't be up, that's for sure. There's light tone in the tummy. And the first station of the many stations, of the 8 stations of Dandasana that have never been revealed before, but I have got up to 5 in one of the classes I did maybe a week ago. The first station is ranging around, moving left, moving right, looking for height. I compare it to in those sort of detective movies where people are pressing panels on an old house, on the wall of an old house. And one of the panels, if they hit the right panel, it might open a secret door. But in this scenario, there are many panels and many openings. Pressing the panel here is ranging around. That's the metaphor for ranging around. And the secret doors is a message, is a metaphor rather, for lifting, for finding space to lift. Of course, we can explain all of this in sort of more mundane physiological terms, talking about myofascia and so on, tuning out to tune in. And I think first station it's got everything that I need.
I don't need to go beyond this because I keep finding openings through ranging around. Keep finding openings. Second station is drop lifting. Right? That is the thigh bones drop at the very top of the bone. You can still have ranging around going on. Thigh bones drop. And there's a lifting that corresponds to that, just as there would be a lifting of water. If you dropped a stone into it, the stone would go down, the water would go up. And it's instantaneous. It's not, dropping is not the same as pushing. It's dropping, like dropping a stone in water. Boom, stone goes down, the water goes up. Boom, the thighs go down at the top. Boom. And you can feel there's plenty, these two stations alone. Third station is broadening the feet, like they're smiling from big toe side to little toe side. Normally you get to about the third station and people have had enough. So I'll come out nice and easy just in case. I like to take it to station 8, but it's never been revealed. The 8 stations have never been revealed to the general public. No one except me knows them. But I have revealed, I'll try and find the class and put it on YouTube, the first 5 so far. Now we've got 2 blocks again. Could you believe it? Possibly another one, a brick block, but we're going to lay on these blocks, laying on our back. You might want a brick block as well for your head. These come into your ribs, into your upper ribs, and then you stretch over. Legs together or close is useful. Legs together or close. And arms straight up. So it's pressing into your shoulder blades, it's pressing into your rib cage. It's definitely not pressing into your lower back. So it's definitely you can feel bone, the ribs. And the legs are together or close and your arms are straight up. And then you can, if you want, stretch your arms up and over, toning the tummy. So as you move up and over, the more the arms come towards the floor, the more the tummy tones up. And that should make your back feel longer. You know, it's quite clearly a dynamic and can be quite intense. I did mention you can have your head supported higher if you want. You can have your hands supported higher if you want. For me, it's absolutely perfect just with the blocks and tummy tone. But you've got to adjust it so you can breathe into it, you see. Neck soft, eyes soft, throat soft, jaw soft. I could do that for a long time. I really enjoy it. And it's made more enjoyable by keeping that light tone in the tummy. That's definitely an important factor. That buoyancy on the pelvic floor. Okay. We'll come out of it slow and easy by bringing the arms forwards first, bending the legs, taking a breath or two like that, and rolling slowly off the lift to one side. Rolling slowly off the lift to one side. And once you're off the lift to one side, you can lay on your side, taking a few ecstatic, melted, surrendered breaths beyond words. And I could just lay like this with you forever. It's just, but of course life has to go on, so we better get up because it's so lovely to be there like that. And we're going to come into Paschimottanasana. Oh, that was very relaxing. Paschimottanasana, but with 2 blocks, of course. Now, you're probably going to find it beneficial to use a belt. I don't think there are any yoga belts up here. What there is a weird sort of, I don't know what, it's like a Pilates thing. I don't use this, but I think Kadeen does sometimes. So I'm going to, this is a mock-up of a yoga belt using a Pilates, well, I don't know even what they call them, stretchy band, right? So your feet will go on the blocks and your buttock flesh, of course, as usual, drawn out and back. Right. And then the strap, the belt, or the weird stretchy Pilates thing,
goes around the balls of the feet. I may even find that I'll come to love this Pilates stretchy thing, actually. With the Pilates stretchy thing, you can let your body bounce, but with a belt, you pull and the back of the body goes in towards the front of the body and the chest lifts up. And the breathing's through the nose. So pull, back of the body goes towards the front of the body, the chest lifts up, and the breathing's through the nose. So pull the back of the body towards the front of the front of the body lifts up. Now, if you imagine, and this is partly why we're using the blocks, by the way, if you imagine the top of the thighs have dropped down and are dropping down out of the way of the pelvis at the front can tilt a little bit into the space that's made by imagining and feeling the thigh bones dropping. And as that happens, it may come to pass, as the pelvis tilts, of course, the whole spine will slowly tilt to whatever amount. It's not about how much, it's just about feeling into that tilt, which is a product of the absorbed mind. For some people, it tilts and you come so close to the feet, you might as well hold them. Well, that's fine. But it's a massive mistake to think that holding the feet is the purpose of this. It makes precisely no difference whether you're near your feet or far from your feet. It's the interdependent experience that we want to feel. Interdependent relationships between pulling the belt, the back of the body in, the front of the body in and up. The lightness, the natural hinging as time goes past. The increased hydration, which is mimicked by the mind's increased flow, and so on. The important thing in Paschimottanasana is not to curl the front of the body, but to keep it spacious and to allow timelessness. Like called Kaliko Dharma. A Kaliko Dharma is like timeless truth. I think Paschimottanasana, also known as Ugrasana, also known as Brahmacharyasana, sometimes translated as Western stretch because the back of the body is associated with the West when we superimpose directions onto the body. I think just not even trying, but listening instead. The response is an expression of the listening rather than an expression of trying. Beautiful. Wherever you are, doesn't matter. Meditation matters. All that matters is that you use your body to deliver yourself to the goddess. That's all that matters. Coming off the blocks. Well done. Beautiful. I'll sling this, whatever it is over there. And then you're going to take, guess how many blocks? Yeah, exactly. 2 blocks, long side to long side, down on your mat. If your back's a little tight, you can, if you've got more blocks, you can stack them up higher. If you've got long legs, you can have them a little way apart. There can be a gap between them. And then, quite simply, we'll cross our legs with our feet on the blocks. You can put a blanket under your shins if your knees will benefit from extra support. You just take a blanket in front of you, lift your knees up, put the blanket in. Either way, whatever variation you take, then you slowly tuck the buttocks under towards the blocks, and then elbows down, get it more tucking under if you can. Elbows out as the final sort of lowering down happens. And you raise your arms up towards the ceiling at that last point and Just wave them around. Take deep, expressive, natural breaths. And gradually, through the waving of the arms, gradually, we'll bring our arms down towards the floor, or maybe to some support. But I think it's amazing how much more movement you can get through hydrating the myofascia, through sort of multiple movements. Breath is everything, of course. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Neck relaxed as well. Supta, cognate with words like supine. Sukhasana. Sukhasana is made of two particles. Su, good, means good. Ka means space. One of the words in Sanskrit for bird sounds a bit like a crow making a noise because it's kaga, like kaga. And kaga means ka, it's the ka that's the end of sukha, but at the beginning of the word for bird, ka, ga, means like space, movement in space. Thing that moves in space is a bird, right? Kaga. Change the cross of your legs so the other one's in front. Sometimes people want to come up to do that, so you can by bending the legs, bringing the feet onto the block, rolling onto the side, coming up, and starting the pose from the beginning, but with the other cross. Simply because you might want to put the blanket in again. Move your arms again once you're down, so that you feel your shoulder blades are actually lifted off the floor, and that they move multiple times. Breath comes and goes, eyes are soft, brain is soft, throat is soft. Neck is soft. Breathing is natural, expressive, honest. Breathing is natural, expressive, honest. Okay, lovely. Bring your legs back together. Roll when you're ready onto your side and come up nice and easy from the side. Take your time, nice and easy from the side. Good job. And then we're going to sit on 2 blocks. Yes, I know. I won't stop once I've started. I'm quite tenacious. 2 blocks and a blanket as well. Now, although I'm in the bedroom, there isn't a blanket, but oh, hang on, say that. Yes, there is. I'm going to use this green blanket, which is not the ideal color to use when I've got a green mat, but anyway, it's all I've got. We're going to sit with our legs in a cross-leg position, a thicker blanket than the one I've got here, but I'm just using what I got. And the knees will go up and the blanket will go under the shins, and it's a much thicker one than I've got, so it will support your shins. And it's Sukhasana on 2 blocks, palms up, breathing through your nose. And this Jnana Mudra. So mudra, remember, means a seal, something sealed or contained. Breathing through the nose, perhaps there's subtle ranging around, beautiful tuning in, like a kiss, or a hug. You sort of tune in and disappear, right? And then as you disappear, you reappear in your true form as the goddess who has the knowledge of how things are, She acts on that knowledge because she wants to act on that knowledge. These are the qualities of the goddess. And the goddess shows herself as you when you give to her. And she is the interdependent field. And what is the interdependent field? It's just this as it is, instead of the projected, divided version of our reality. When you give to a delicious flavor, when you give to an odor that's absorbing, when you give to sense contact, then it's just sort of returning to the interdependent field. We're going to give the fingers a little wiggle and bring our hands to the heart. And we're going to chant 3 times together the bija mantra that's associated with all the goddesses. There aren't really goddesses. There's only one goddess, the Devi, coming out of Prakriti. Of course, it's a big discussion about goddesses. There's a great book called Devi. I do recommend it to you. It makes a good read. Just called Devi. Anyway, from one point of view, the goddesses are one goddess. And the mantra for the one goddess, the Devi, is Hrim, H-R-I-M. The I has a straight line across the top and the M has a dot underneath it. And we'll chant that together to fall in love with the heart center. To fall in love with the heart center. Take a deep breath in, inhale. Hrim. I'm going to do it 3 times. Hrim. And the last one. Hrim. And then deep breaths, plural. They come and they go, and they come and they go. Deep breaths. Falling in love with the center, with the middle, with the heart, falling in love, trusting totally. That's what love is, isn't it? Like trust, total trust that leads to total surrender, abandon, joyful abandon. We're going to release our hands. We're going to release the legs from the cross-leg position. We're going to lay down on our backs. We're going to use 2 blocks. Of course. One for the head and the other one for the legs with a neatly rolled blanket. Now, as I said, this blanket, although it's a rather nice sort of shade of green, it's not really thick enough, but I'll roll it up and do the best I can with it. It goes on top of one of the blocks, the other one's for your head, and you're going to lay down for Shavasana with head support and back of the knee support, and it should be placed really precisely at the back of the knees. Arms are way off the yoga mat, and they should be. Hopefully the roll is supporting you enough, but you can use 2 blocks if you've got them for the back of the knees next to each other, so that the blanket is better supported if your legs are not comfortable. And you can even have more height under your knees, and then that's it. It's as if the whole body says yes. The whole body at the same time. It's as if the whole body says yes. there's a correlation between settling and expansion. The more of one, the more of the other. And this giving gives you into the arms of the goddess where all your needs are met. Tat param purushakyater gunavaitrishnam. Tat param purushakyater gunavaitrishnam. Tat param purushakyater gunavaitrishnam. In that far shore, that unsurpassed, Tat param purushakyater, the person who knows it, Gunavaitrishnam, is completely satisfied regarding the fundamentals of reality. They're completely content, they're completely satisfied, completely sated. Could lay forever. Absorbing the peace into every cell of the body. Now you can lay as long as you have time to, but when you're ready to come out, you'll follow these instructions, and that could be now, or it could be, in 5 minutes. The instructions are easy to remember because they just wiggle your toes and fingers, ankles and wrists, a bit of movement. Then bending the legs and placing them on the support that's under the knees, scooting the buttocks under and releasing the lower back entirely into the breath. Then with knees drawn up, roll to your left side. The knees are drawn up and the feet are forward, so you no longer have contact with the support that's under your knees. Both arms come over with you. If you can draw the knees up, then your tummy will be soft. And that softness in the tummy has a profoundly restorative effect. Having laid on that side for as long as you want, you'll roll to the other. Again, with the knees drawn up, the tummy is soft. And that softness has a profoundly restorative effect. And you take your time to come round. You might rub your eyes or stretch out an arm or a leg. When you feel ready, you'll come up nice and easy from the side, using your arms to assist your ascent. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Very, very much. Lovely, just lovely to see you. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening.